because unless something else comes up where I'm being attacked again, just as a registry. But this is the last one as far as dealing with this whole thing with McRaven, Jana Lewis, Ty Briscoe. These are persons. Jana Lewis, Thumper, therefore a public entity. Ty Briscoe is the person who has been who who's her boyfriend. So therefore, the boyfriend of a public entity becomes a public entity as a unit, or he is a gangbanger, is cartel gangbanger member who threatened my life. This is a statement to make sure that YouTube does understands that this is all of this is provable and real. So what has happened so far? Okay, the DCCC has reneged on its implied statement of paying me for my use of my likeness. You have Jay Z, who is going to on the 14th get everyone over there, and then what their whole goal was is to do I create the process, and then Jay Z quote will take over at the last point. This is so Navy, by the way. The problem is that goes against my brand because my brand is for the person. As far as what I was doing is to help elevate black African American men who did not become gangbangers, who went to work every day, did the 9 to 5, put up with all the racism and all the BS, and didn't be, and right now what is it? 90% of all marriages are freaking are failing. Black households without men, which is what the 1% want, are easily destructive. It also creates a completely tiered system, which can then use to control Caucasian Americans in the middle, or the Asians, who are the model minority, but the Asians aren't figuring it out. Now they're switching over to the trying to control the Mexicans. Same thing. Also, over the time, we've gone through what the cluster B is. The cluster B is an id-focused individual who splits themselves, originally through trauma, but the fact is they are aware of their behavior. So even if the beginnings of it might have been bad, they know what they are doing. They do it on purpose. I was able to show Kathleen Kennedy, Disney, and Lucasfilm have used my persona for the writing group, so they have stolen my rights to my publicity, and because of illegally monitoring my place, they have stolen my brand. I will be suing them, Disney and Lucasfilm. Granted, it'll probably take decades. That's the whole idea. They'll drag it out. I'll put it into a trust. They'll also be attacking my trades. They've done that through the Carlyle Group. Admiral Stavridis, who is also a Southern bigot. I would not be surprised if his wife was part of the Daughters of Confederacy or one of persons like that if this wasn't out of the South. But she definitely, personality would come out because these things can be shown as a what is it? Can be shown under MRI. So these are objective actualities. This one thing that makes me exceptionally dangerous is because I've been able to use the systems of their language to derive the structure of their thinking. Now, with others, of course, like Dr. Romney, Dr. Les Carter, Dr. Sam Vakman, Dr. Grannon, then also Dr. Sapolsky, because that was the physical manifestation of where civilization is, where the animal, which we would call the cluster B or id externalized personalities, were killed off, and then the non-id externalized personalities created a more longer term multi-step game system where persons of id externalized personalities are unitary singular game focused, so they constantly have to create messes. They split themselves externally and internally. External is id, ego is super ego, as we know, but into them that is the scapegoat, golden child, super ego, and then visible, which would be the ego or the self. They scapegoat the ego. I mean this the id no, the ego self or the heart self, which is the person, any person who is both empathic and thoughtful. Because what, and then they do what's called reactive abuse, or what did I call it? Reactive something something whatever, where that person, let me see, let me go to pages here. I read it as for where they externalize the so they're really pissed off, and I don't really give a damn. Um, so this is what I wrote to the Joint Chiefs. They probably say they didn't do it, but publicly, but I know better. So since they keep trying to kill me, I burn this completely to the ground. They'll kill me anyways, but at least it's burned to the ground. Because I'm done with this. I'm done with, you know, because the Admiralty undercut my career. One, because mostly because I was competent, and second, because they probably realized after I received my when I did Seaman to Admiral package, especially those bigots who were controlling the top Admiralty, that I was a threat because I'm not, I don't fit into the box that they need. Jay-Z fits into the box of criminality, and he actually sold out all the gangs because they would have never have let him make money without going to jail if he wasn't selling people out. So, and all that thing about Jay-Z being all gangster and shit, no, he's just an informant, a well-paid informant. His purpose is to get young kids to maintain the behaviors of the gangsters so that way they go to jail, and it keeps the prison industrial complex full, and then you have people like the Carlyle Group and other hedge funds making money off of that. Now this all started, started with because I was riding my motorcycle and a little fucking little brat, little trust funder who's never worked a day in her life, and whose mom, I was able to figure out whose mom was a complete drug addict. Her nanny was her mom's pimp. So this chick grew up thinking and behaving like her. She would, as a child, she would try to tell her dad through her behaviors. Her dad figured out her behaviors. Her mom figured out what she was saying through her behaviors. This behaviors. That's Jana, and that's the with the stage name of Thumper. Her mom was able to figure out that the dad could understand her behaviors, so she started to attack her daughter to hide her. So it's that the daughter would then attack the dad to hide her bullshit that the mom was doing. Then the mom used one of the things about reactive abuse is it's a positive negative. It inflames the amygdala. She used that to over not non-metaphysically to hijack the nervous system of her dad. Dad probably died in his plane because I know he passed away as a plane and probably missed something or whatever. From a metaphysical perspective, what it does is the individual disassociates, and we are talking about meme demons. Memes are, or meme entities. Meme entities are clusters of thought that have to reinforce themselves. They aren't actually the individual, so we would call them angels or demons. The meme demon is a id focused structure set. So I'm sitting there trying to figure this out. I figured out this was my mom. I assume that what happened is my mom, as once she closed off herself from as Dolores Hemley, Dolores Silvera and Dolores Hemley, moved to the United States, made sure she never called herself Dolores. Only a few people ever knew who called her Dolores, as they always called her Catherine or Mrs. Hemley. She suppressed the Dolores of herself, which was a heart center of herself, and then she then proceeded to abuse my brother, my sister, and myself. The abuse did not start until my sister-in-law, Norma Jean Mercer, and her mother got involved. You got my brother involved, who was a football player at the time in Palm Bay High School. She got him all. My Norma Jean got him all fucked up on drugs. He had a kid, younger. My dad brother went into the military to try to get straightened out, but it's still When my brother could have pulled away to find a person of his status and class, my mom undercut us because she was only thinking about herself. She abused all of us, and so just and but in being quote black, because the black African American community as a complete structure is external, is from, if you look at it, is id focused, and they attack. And I can it was funny, I was thinking of this morning. Like, you have Thomas, Clarence Thomas, complete jackass, mind you, but I completely empathize with him. I understand him now. I totally understand him. Black African Americans, due to jealousies, always throw each other under the bus because of their id focused position. The more advanced you get, I mean, this was done by the Southerners, so that way it was the easiest way to keep them enslaved, is to keep them to enslave themselves. It went through the whole situation with this, where they did this to the women. Women in general will play, they'll easily sleep with the beta, and they'll try to make the high value guy work for it. This id focused, externalized id focused personality, id externalized personality, is feminine in nature, because that is the feminine nature. Id externalized. The feminine is more dealt with the id. The masculine is more dealt with the superego. That's where the difference between schizophrenia and cluster B. I think schizophrenia is cluster A, if I remember correctly. And you just said schizotopal. So what the id cluster id external tries to do is try to create as much pain within the individual, and then try to force them to disassociate and not view and not believe in their own senses. Since I had already been, since my main focus has always been recursive and nonlinear logic, I had already and art. It was harder for them to try to make me disassociate, because, well, I already went through what's called union logic, the conjunction of the opposites, which is the mind connecting through both halves and working at the same time. So it's basically both emotion and logic working as a community one. The situation is with Kathleen Kennedy. On my Facebook page, she was attacking Gina Carano. Gina Carano, even though she was right wing, she really wasn't doing anything. And I was like, that's fucking wrong. She and Kathleen Kennedy flipped the fuck out, as she should. And then between her, McRaven, and Stavridis attacked me. And I think that also that people, because this was going on beforehand, because I guarantee you, I was on a motorcycle riding around the country, and I was mind fucking Miss Lewis, which is the superego's part of the id focused personality, which is the id focused personality externalizes and projects their their superego, and the superego, as in meme, lives in the and that's where Freud, I'm pretty sure Freud saw that split personalities during his work. So Ms. Lewis was the projection of the child and the mirror of the mom. So the child never actually became a human being. And they're sitting there watching this person flip the fuck out, because I reminded the child self of the mom, of the dad, what they did, what Ty and Holly Adams did after raping Miss Madison Orange, but Miss Madison Orange didn't have the guts to take that rape accusation, under California law, because they were paid off by both Jay-Z and these larger hedge funds to maintain these gangs, therefore keeping the chaos of the lower classes intact, and at the same time controlling the Caucasians, because all this is all about controlling the Caucasians. As you're seeing what's going on with Trump. Trump's just saying, hey, you can now be an asshole too, as you see with Carrie Lake and the bullshit she's pulling. DCCC, what they're, but using me, now they're going to sit there and do this whole thing on the 14th, try to hold Trump accountable. If they don't have the balls to do so, they don't have the balls to hold Kevin McCarthy accountable. Why? Because niggers are stupid and they're weak. They talk a lot of shit. They shoot each other all the fucking time. But black African Americans in general are weak, and they're expected to be weak by the Republicans and the general population because mostly they do not maintain any integrity of word and action. It's just who they are. So this was going on. While I was sitting there doing this, I was sitting there. I proved to I was able to stop the initial invasion of Ukraine, but the warmongers, these companies want to create war. And the problem is, if Ukraine falls, then we have World War III. Russia is trying to pull everybody in. That's why they're using it. They need them. They're running out of munitions. But so now they're getting Iran involved. As soon as an attack on Iran happens, then Saudis might go after Iran. But then because Iran is also working with China, China might then go after Saudi, and then they will go over. The G has to within the next 2 years go over the Taiwan Straits, which will then elicit World War III. Prince Charles does not want to, because he's a bigoted little bitch. Does not want to, even though he is technically given Lady Markle and Prince Harry their kids their title. He does not want to what is it? Show, that's not the word. But where my grandfather, his Royal Highness Reginald Cervera, was royal, and that we are of royal blood. How do I know? Queen Elizabeth II tested my blood and confirmed this. Also, that they don't want to where I had a contract with Queen Elizabeth II, and as royal blood, therefore it is a succinct contract. King Charles is going to say, fuck that contract, I don't have to give a shit about you. Then he's going to still think he's going to be able to control the Commonwealth. I would tell the rest of these countries, Commonwealth, leave, because King Charles is going to become a tyrant, especially if you're dark skinned. That was the reason of Brexit. Brexit was the whole idea that they would leave Europe and then start strip mining all these countries within the Commonwealth. And they were saying, well, it's all cool, we're good. Only reason it's all cool now is because there was competition with Europe. There was competitive markets. King Charles does not want to sit there. The thing is, King Charles, if he gets somebody else to do the syndication, which was in the contract, they're going to lower the syndication and get that person, oh, here's a little nigger, here's 1 to 3%, which is counter to what the average syndication is. I maintain that 25% on the syndication because by not doing that, because how you enter into a situation is how you exit. So if you and since to these people, like these cluster Bs, emotions are objects, people are objects, I have to maintain that position of going in, or they're going to strip mine Africa and South America and the Caribbean. And then because quote I'm not the most powerful one, they are going to sit there and they know that basically everything I am saying is correct, and that terrifies them. The Caribbean, and so World War III is going to start. Don't really give a shit. Not my problem. Not my circus. Not my fucking monkeys. So this is the last one I'm going to do. This whole thing was a situation using the universal consciousness to try to hold Trump at account, but more people are more worried about my power. But then you look at Elon Musk, they'd have no qualms with him, 200 and 300 billion, but I'm just sitting there using my brain to come up with an idea, and that's how capital is truly made. Anybody who's a capitalist truly knows that, and that's the other thing of what makes me far more dangerous. Secondary thing is modern branding, especially online, nonlinear, was devised by me when I was going to Full Sail. I call it brand response. Full Sail has made millions of dollars. It got Obama elected twice. It got Biden elected, and it was also, Bernie was kind of part of it, but the whole idea of being able to structure that whole process is mine. The other thing is I sent to, so is also getting Val Demings and the structure, of Stacey Abrams. She wouldn't listen for a long time. That was mainly due to Tiffany Cross. Every time I would, do something or put something out, Tiffany Cross would then counter it into the black black African American woman, and then that eventually in the what is it, collective consciousness actually killed Kevin Samuels, which is the voice I needed of that of my around my age. He was 55 when he passed. To that black people could trust and understand, but Tiffany Cross, being a gangbanger, kept undercutting, and eventually through the collective consciousness between her and Kathleen Kennedy, because every time I was doing something, I was writing as I was doing my personal religious studies, so my First Amendment rights were violated. She would then counter and do what's called a opposite dialectic, because Kathleen Kennedy is a very strong, deep narcissist, if not psychopath, which is very unusual for women to be both psychopathic, to be psychopathic. They're usually narcissistic, but everything she does is dialectical. Also, the thing I was able to prove is that Queen Camilla, the Queen Consort Camilla, actually killed Princess Diana. The way she would do that is she would use her friends in the media, leak Diana's position to the media, so Diana was constantly harassed and harangued. This had a terrifying effect on Prince Harry, to where the point where he went in the military, specifically going to Afghanistan, so that way he would be able to protect his wife when he was, and which he, and when then when he got married to Lady Markle, the Queen Consort started it up again. Thing is, it wasn't just the Queen Consort; it was also his dad, now King Charles III. They were both attacking Diana, and they were both attacking Lady Markle, using Hollywood and the 1% and the newspapers, such as Murdoch's. Which, speaking of which, Murdoch is actually working with the Chinese to overthrow the crown, and the Chinese won Australia and Africa. All of these idiots are trying to overturn the world. Then you also have what's called the family. They're the ones who put on the prayer breakfast. Their main goal is to turn the world into a theocratic fascist state, especially America. They've been working on this for years. The most obvious statement on that is in our money. It says under God, and also in the Pledge of Allegiance. Under God is an assumption of a king. As a secular state, they're trying to overturn the secular state. It should be, if they're going to put God in it, it should be with God, not under God. Under God is the reason it states that as what's it called? A monarchy, is because the monarch is considered a god or a goddess, and everyone else is under God. So continuing on, so this sounds all nonlinear and all absolutely batshit crazy, and every bit of it is absolutely true and provable. And that once again makes me incredibly dangerous to this 1%, because they know that this is all true. The other thing is, where they use the Freemasons. We have the lodges were split into Prince Hall and whatever. I don't have the culture of Black Americans. I always knew this, so I always stayed away from the Prince Hall. But because of the racism of the other halls, I can never become a Freemason that fits my cultural identity. Then we have the situation where, okay, I went to become a mechanic. I was asked to become a mechanic. I did go through the initiation because I was looking for that. My mom does this whole thing. She'll always help, but then cut you off at the knees. That's just what she does. She's very abusive. Just absolutely abusive. She abused my brother, my sister, and I, mostly by destroying our sense of self. I maintain most of my sense of self, and she learned this through my sister-in-law, who is absolutely abusive, uneducated, and I almost snapped her goddamn neck for getting in my fucking face. And Black Americans, well, she's black. No, your behavior sucks. Your women's behavior sucks. Any white guy worth his salt wants nothing to do with a black woman. Usually. My sister is unusual because, well, she's highly educated, and once again, we're more generational educated. And Rick actually got hit the trifecta. He got a princess, like truly got a like princess. So, but that is in general. Good thing is also Rick's was my sister's best friend, and we were next door neighbors. So that's a wholly different story. We were next door neighbors for decades. So continuing on with that, and let's see. So now we're to McRaven. Where McRaven, the thing is, the McRaven and Stradvitas and the Admiralty of the Navy, because I defeated their equal opportunity paper, and I was able to show that this isn't this that they were actually attacking me while I was at Dam Neck for no reason. Now I'm able to show the why of that reason, and to show that it's again that this is a pathological situation, and that also you don't have to say bigotry is so this behavior is not even though it's usually about race, this behavior is about id and an externalized self. So you could say, well, now because we have a complete a distinct structure of how this works, and the reactive behavior structures of it, and it is counter to everything we have within the Constitution and under the quote rule of law. The rule of law would be the superego. The rule of man would be the id. And so the superego controls the id, but the id is constantly trying to overcome the superego to feed, because the id is basically the stomach. Basically, because we start off as beings where the id is the first brain, superego is the second brain, and then you have the heart centering between the both of them and balancing the brains. Therefore, it would be called the ego, or the center itself. If they're on a balance, out of balance, the person splits into three different individuals. Now we're getting back to Ukraine situation. Is I was able to stop, like I was able to predict Putin going over multiple times, blah blah blah. Right now, since this is all a gaslight, and be honest with you, since they're all gaslighting me, I'm being completely gaslit by the entire fucking world. Since this is a whole gaslight, none of this is happening. But if Jay-Z shows up on the 14th, if there's people there on the 14th, now they're going to switch it off and say, well, we were doing this. Nope. You didn't start it until I said it. You didn't start because they had no clue. So they're going to sit there. And another thing is, like, the military was trying to use me to, like, this is how you have to be. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to allow you to tell me how my brand is, because branding is what I do. And mostly, not so much that I didn't mind. I didn't really mind, except McRaven kept trying to press and push and try to do these shitty disassociations while working with Kathleen Kennedy and the 1% and their media empires. So, now I know President Biden's probably thinking, oh, you were thinking you're power hungry. He's like, no, dude, I'm only doing exactly where this situation is, and only up to exactly where, up to my ability. But the thing is, my abilities far exceeds what most people's abilities are, and it freaks them the fuck out. Not my problem, not my circus, not my monkey. I'm good. I'm out. Right now, they need to figure out how to get power to Ukraine. Right now, the generals are salivating as far as they can go rolling in and start boom, boom, explode the military-industrial complex. I've been trying to hold back from being stupid. They want to send their boys in, more blood. Yay, more blood, more money. Woo! Whole time I'm trying to stop this, help Ukraine win, build their economy. Then we can do trade between that and the Commonwealth, and then back into America and create peace and prosperity. But id-focused persons don't want that. They want chaos, and they want blood. They make sure their kids' blood is not being spilled, and they send everybody else's. So anyways, and then you have Elon Musk turning into a fucking fascist. But hey, they keep giving him more money. They gave him Twitter. They give him all this shit while he's being more fascistic. Gotta love that. So they know that they're going to keep pressing and pressing and pressing. So I figured about probably around 7 to 10 years, Prince Charles is going to lose his crown because motherfuckers are going to kill him, or either directly or indirectly through the universal consciousness, because Camilla's going to have to feed. These types of personalities do not get better; they get worse. And Prince William is too much of a bitch to stand up to his dad to uphold the contract that Queen Elizabeth has with me on purpose, because she did that, throw a hand grenade in the situation. And they come back later and go, hey, will you want this? I'm like, fuck you. I'm gonna go snowboarding. Kiss my ass. I don't want none of this shit. I learned how to do day trading and all this shit so I can do one thing. Just go snowboarding, buy my house in Vail, and just be me, go mountain biking, live my fucking life as I wish. But they're trying to steal all my shit, and that's the thing. They steal your intellectual property, and then they're going to give it away to the fucking gangbanger, and that once again keeps the prison industrial complex full. And Jay-Z is too much of a little bitch to actually. And then you had Don. I guess he's a gangbanger too, but I didn't realize that. Who are to keep fucking African Americans over, and they fuck themselves over. They're still slaves. Not my circus, not my monkey. This is a whole situation. This is why it was built, and this is how it was done. And then and everyone falls for it. And the dude who doesn't fall for it, they get these lower idiots to attack him, which would be me, because they can't have anyone seeing. Because I am of who I am. Makes it even more dangerous now, because I am royal blood. Because I'm mostly, I never give a shit about the royal blood. I didn't figure that out until this year. All I know is just we come from an educated family, both on my father and my mother's side. And that education is my mother's side, obviously, because the royal blood goes way back into the Middle Ages, and then probably because there's the Jewish line, it probably goes even farther back than that. And my dad's side, at least 3 generations, even under, because my father is educated, my grandfather is educated, and I'm pretty sure from his rhythm, I only met my grandfather once on my father's side, and I remember them rhythms. His grandfather was probably educated. So I come from both slave and education, but the education in the near term is what is strongest. So I am the greatest threat, and they have to put me down because of it, because I am more educated than 99.9% of Caucasians, not just here in America, but also in Western Europe. And generational education matters because, as we know within science, you have generational memories or genetic memories. And I was using that information, that knowledge, that wisdom to help humanity. I've done my turn. Humanity wants to sit there and suck itself off, so fuck them. But I am going to make sure I grab. It's going to take decades. I'll probably never see the money, but I am damn sure going to fucking beat the shit out of of Disney Full Sail for not paying me. Lucasfilm, damn sure the Carlyle Group, and whoever else I could figure out is fucking with this thing. Won't see the money, I don't care, but I need to maintain my brand, my name, myself, because that's the thing about these focused persons, is they steal your self. They steal the self of those who are worthy, which is essentially stealing the soul. They are just demons, truly are demons in not just the psychological, but the structural sense, which means they are takers. It also kind of understands why Ayn Rand, the whole thing about taking thing, but anyways. So I'm going to go do my Martinist studies. Usually after I study my Rosicrucian studies or my Martinist studies, Kathleen Kennedy then does a negative, and the like the Murdochs and all that, they then do a negative, a stream into the media. This is also how they attacked Diana. Besides not just the paparazzi, they kept, as she would try, it's reactive, as she would try to keep building herself, they would keep hammering and hammering. That's why she ended up, it's like trying to find safety with all people, the Saudis, and and that's what they did to Lady Markle as well. And they're gonna do it to Lady Markle as long as she stays over in most of the stays with Hollywood. But as long as her mom was really 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 getting involved in the middle of her daughter's life, and she was also creating reactive abuse, because they always do it dialectically, i.e., they always do triangulations. As I said, they're not human beings. So I'm going to start doing my work. And I remember, and that's when, at the time that she killed Kevin Samuels, I was really deep into the work, and Kathleen Kennedy was constantly trying to break me from the eggery, and by trying to force me back down on my id into the id out of so I could not reach up. But I'm keep proving to be far more powerful. And the thing is about the person. But the thing is, there in Star Wars this thing meme entity they call Abeloth, and the statement was that she drank from the well of power and bathed in the well bathed in the well in the fount of knowledge and drank from the well of power, or whatever. One of the powers. She drank power, bathed in knowledge. She got it backwards. She became just a fucking demon of shit, which means she's connected to all these, which she's directly connected to. What's the other one is Queen Consort. As you can see by as the Chinese say, the way you lived your life, the lines on your face have shown the way you've lived your life. Well, she has lived a very bitter person, and so she's trying to externalize all that internal bitterness. So that's the Abeloth meme, both between Kathleen Kennedy, Murdoch, her, the Mercers, DeVosses, and the other one percenters who are trying to overthrow the crown and destroy the Constitution. So again, they're betting that black Americans don't have enough guts and balls, and then working class Americans are going to be too racist to see what's happening. And then and guess what? Then the working class Americans get a little bit of money, and then they think they can start kicking down while they're the ones who are the targets of the fascism. If you read about how fascism took over Germany, everything seemed nice and normal until all of a sudden it wasn't, because fascists cannot. And then you also have these theocratic fascists who are preaching from the pulpit, and they should be losing their tax exempt status for preaching from the pulpit. Now, if they want to sit there, I mean, not preaching from the pulpit, but talking politics from the pulpit. Now, if they want to do politics after the pulpit's over, and then people kind of do the wink, wink, nod, nod, that's a different story. But they're blatantly saying it, so that's conflating God with some damn politician. Therefore, that's how because they're doing that, that's how they think that you literally call the Antichrist, the Antichristos, the Antichrist, which is the guy who's id focused, Donald Trump. They're calling him some fucking gosh darn savior. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Anywho, so this is what the situation is. This is me putting this out there. We're fucked. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna go snowboarding. Fuck all y'all. And oh yeah, the moment that Jay-Z or any of the African Americans show up and try to hold Trump to account in large masses in DC, they're gonna try to say, well, that was Jay-Z. Therefore, that's a brand theft, and I'll be fucking It might take decades, it might take generations, but make no mistake about it, I'm getting my brand name, and my capital back. That's it. God bless America. Oh yeah, by the way, Ukraine's fucked because I'm not doing this shit anymore because they're trying to set me up. Same thing. If it fails, they blame me. If it succeeds, they take all the credit. Same shit that I saw when I was in fucking Afghanistan. But freaking Vogel was talking about. They send this damn Marine over. He's doing a really good job. And the incompetent people don't look for competence. They actually hate it. So, whatever it is. Since this doesn't exist, since this isn't happening, because nobody wants to, not even the Prime Minister of Jamaica. No, I called Val Demings. Oh, she tried to do a little gaslight, had her freaking guys. I'm way here in Colorado. I should not be getting targeted on Instagram. Right? I'm getting targeted on Instagram. I'm like, all right, Val, you're going to gaslight me. I'm going to call up, see what you do. You call me back? No. Shows what she is. Blacks are blacks. Can't be trusted. Have the backbone of a fucking slug. Not a big deal. Easy day. I got shit to do. This country's fucked. Europe's fucked. Commonwealth's fucked. Charles is going to be dead within 10 years. And, not my problem. Fuck them. But to those fighters in Ukraine, since this is not real, I hope you well. I really do. because I don't want you to fight for something that some ideal that we can that doesn't exist. You know, fight for your land, fight for your woman, whatever. But I'm trying. You know, if this was real, my thing was help them get to their fight, get that fight over, get Crimea, pay us back, makes lots of money, switch over to hydrogen. You know, as pulling it out of the ground and also off the sea. You got highly educated population. They're going to come back really fucked because this is World War One style hell. But since this is not happening, I'm just talking to myself. I wish everyone well if this is real, but I know it's not. Good day. And oh yeah, Stradvitas and McRaven are traitors to the Constitution. Admiral Stradvitas and Admiral McRaven are traitors to the Constitution because they're Southern bigots. Where Stradvitas is a Florida, West Palm Beach Southern bigot. Me growing up in Florida, I know exactly how they are. And McRaven is just a Texas bigot, which is the same dude as Rob when I was in, and they act the exact same way. So I'm doing, and now I'm going to be suing this owner because they also. The good news is it showed me how coordinated bigotry is, and how they turn whole cities and populations into flying monkeys.